You know that silence? The kind that doesn't just sit there but presses against your eardrums. I still hear it. Every night when I close my eyes, I'm back there, 80 feet under the Sami, clay in my fingernails, listening for the scrape of German spades. Because that's how you knew you were safe. When you could hear them digging, you could breathe. But when the scraping stopped, that's when the sweat turned cold on your back. I'm Arthur Penhaligon, was a lieutenant with the Royal Engineers, 171st Tunneling Company. And I'm telling you this because the official reports are lies. The War Office says it was a camouflage that destabilized the ridge. Gas pocket, structural collapse, clean explanations for messy deaths. But I was there when the drill bit sheared clean off. I was there when the clay gave way to something that shouldn't exist. And what we found down there, it wasn't German. It wasn't British. It was waiting. You have to understand what we did. We weren't soldiers, not really. We were moles. My men, the clay kickers, were hard bastards from Welsh collieries and Manchester sewers. They'd lie on wooden crosses, kicking spades into the clay face, inching forward like worms in a corpse. My job was making sure the roof didn't come down on us while we navigated blind toward the enemy. Our target was the Iron Redoubt, concrete fortress, machine guns, the whole nightmare. It had slaughtered 3 waves of our boys already. So the general staff decided if we couldn't go over, we'd go under. 300 yards beneath no man's land, pack the end with 50,000 pounds of ammonal, and vaporize the redoubt from below. Routine work. If you can call crawling through a coffin-sized tunnel with candles and stale air routine. We were deep, deeper than usual to avoid German countermines. The geology reports said blue clay, then hard chalk. Predictable. I liked predictable. But 3 weeks in, the ground stopped making sense. It started with Elias. Private Elias, our listener, barely 18, eyes too big for his face, hands that never stopped twitching. But put a stethoscope to a geophone, the boy was magic. He could hear a German sneeze through 50 feet of rock. Tell the difference between a pickaxe hitting flint versus clay. We were at the face, 600 feet out, when Elias yanked the headphones off. Just ripped them away like they'd burned him. I was right there, checking timber bracing. The air was thick. Wet earth and unwashed bodies. I saw him rubbing his temples, pale as candle wax. I asked what he heard. Expected countermine. Expected Jerry's digging toward us. That's the fear, that you break through into their tunnel and have a knife fight in the dark. But Elias shook his head, said it wasn't digging, said it was a hum. Low, rhythmic, like a generator but deeper, coming from everywhere at once, vibrating through the floor. I took the headset, pressed it to the wall. At first, just the geological groan of settling rock. Then, there. Faint. Edge of perception. Not erratic like machinery. Steady. Mathematical. Like a heartbeat slowed down to a sleeping giant's pace. I told myself it was interference. Distant artillery. German pump miles away. Ordered the men to keep digging. We were behind schedule. The push was 2 days out. We had to place the mine. 4 hours later, the geology changed. Sergeant Thomas called me up. Thomas was granite and tobacco smoke, a coal pit veteran who didn't scare easy. But he looked uneasy, pointed his lamp at the face. We should have been in blue clay. Instead, the spades were scraping something black. Not rock. I know rocks. 3 years studying strata at University College London. Not basalt, not obsidian, not coal. Matte black, seamless, absorbing our candlelight rather than reflecting it. Cold to the touch. Colder than the surrounding earth. Smooth as glass. Thomas wiped sweat and grime from his forehead. Asked what it was. Buried cellar? Roman ruin? Europe's old. You dig deep enough, you find history. But Romans built with brick and mortar. Not seamless black slabs that felt like ice. I told him to bring up the diamond drill. If it was natural formation, some erratic boulder dropped by glaciers, we'd blast through. We bolted the drill to the floor timbers. Thomas took the crank himself. Usually you hear crunching, grinding as steel bites stone. This time, high-pitched shriek, metal being tortured. Thomas grunted, forcing it forward. Then the crank spun free, throwing him into the mud. We pulled the drill back. The diamond-tipped bit, hardest tool we possessed, sheared off clean. Smooth, like it had been cut by… Well, I didn't have words for it then. I ran my gloved hand over where we'd tried to drill. Not a scratch. Not a mark. Harder than diamond. The men were muttering now. Panic spreads faster than gas in confined dark. Bad luck, they said. Devil's door. I had to take control. I was the officer. The man of science. Told them to widen the excavation, clear the clay away, see the extent of it. 6 hours digging sideways, exposing the face, not a boulder, a wall. Perfectly vertical, flat, stretching down into the floor and up into the ceiling. And in the center, the breach. Not a door. A hole. Perfect circle, 4 feet diameter, punched straight through. But not drilled, edges rounded, fused, like the material had been melted by heat that defied imagination. I touched the rim, smooth, like melted wax hardened. I stared at that hole, cold knot in my stomach. The Germans didn't have blowtorches that could melt diamond-hard rock. We didn't have them. No one on Earth had them. And the hole looked fresh. No dust on the lip. Thomas asked what we were all thinking. Was Jerry on the other side? Some secret bunker? Made no sense. Why build 80 feet down with no way out? But war makes no sense. If it was German, we could plant the charge. But they might be waiting with a Spandau pointed at the opening. I made a decision, pulled my Webley, checked the cylinder, told Thomas to get the men back to secondary bracing, told Elias to bring the field telephone but stay back 10 paces. I was going through. Thomas argued. Good sergeant. Wanted to send a sapper first, or throw a grenade. But you don't toss explosives in confined spaces unless you want the roof on your head. I insisted. Heavy trench lantern in my left hand, revolver in my right, crouched before that fused circular hole. A draft hit me first. In deep tunnels, air is stagnant, dead. But this air moved, warm, like a subway vent in London. Didn't smell of damp earth, smelled metallic, sharp. After a thunderstorm when lightning struck close. Ozone. And underneath, faint, sickly sweet. Musk. Or copper. I crawled in. The black material was thick, maybe 2 feet of solid wall. Then my hand touched nothing. Slid forward, chest scraping the smooth floor, until my head and shoulders stuck out the other side. I raised the lantern. Standard issue trench lantern, yellow, weak, meant for a few feet of clay, woefully inadequate for what lay beyond. I expected German gallery. Timber props, sandbags, startled Fritz dropping cards. I saw space, not darkness, space. The beam cut into gloom and hit nothing. No wall, no ceiling, no floor immediately ahead. I reached down, feeling, found it 3 feet below. Smooth, flat surface. I pulled myself through. Boots hit ground with a solid clack. The sound echoed for a long time. Clack, 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 fading into distance. That echo told me more than my eyes. You only get echoes like that in cathedrals, train stations. I was standing in something larger than any man-made structure I'd entered. "Sir?" Elias, whispering from behind me. Tiny voice, swallowed by vastness. "Bring the light," I whispered back. "Bring the big light." We had a heavy calcium carbide lamp for surveying caverns. Thomas shoved it through. Elias scrambled out after me, clutching it like a talisman. He fumbled the valve. Water dripped on carbide. Gas hissed. Flint struck. White flare. Blinding. As our eyes adjusted, shadows retreated. We stood on a ledge, walkway running along a hall. No, hall is too small. Thoroughfare. Corridor of black stone, identical to the wall we'd breached, stretching left and right as far as light reached. Ceiling lost in gloom above, supported by pillars 50 feet thick, soaring like petrified redwoods. Brutal architecture. Angular. No arches, no curves. Sharp, aggressive geometry. Industrial. Like the inside of a machine. "God Almighty," Thomas whispered, climbing out behind Elias. He stood, dusting clay from his knees. Is this the Germans, sir?" "No," I said, voice trembling. I hated that. "Look at the dust." I pointed to the walkway floor. Thick gray layer, undisturbed for God knows how long. Except for one set of tracks. I knelt. Not footprints. Drag marks. Something heavy dragged deeper into the dark. And alongside them, other prints. Boot prints. But not hobnailed British boots. Not German jackboots. Narrow, smooth soles. "Someone's been here," Elias said, voice rising. Panic bleeding through. "Sir, someone's been here recently." I followed the tracks, led toward shapes 20 yards away. Debris. Looked like wreckage. "We move forward," I said, trying to sound like the officer I was supposed to be. "Keep spacing. Watch the shadows. See movement. You fire." We walked down that impossible hallway, boots clicking on black stone, air getting warmer. The hum Elias heard earlier was louder now. I could feel it in my teeth, not mechanical anymore. Biological, like a predator's purr, magnified 1,000 times. We reached the debris, not rocks. Metal, twisted, shattered, scattered like train crash aftermath. But strange metal, lightweight, almost tin, but rigid. I picked up a shard, symbols etched in it. Not German, not English, geometric shapes, triangles, circles, interlocking. "Sir," Thomas said, standing over rags near the wall, "you need to see this." I walked over. The rags were a uniform, with a body inside. A man, or had been, mummified, skin drawn tight over skull, color of old parchment. Dry air had preserved him perfectly, lying on his back, arm thrown over his eyes like shielding from bright light. I knelt beside him. Uniform was blue, gold braiding, silver buttons. Looked like something from a museum. Hussar's dolman? Dragoon? Belonged on Waterloo's fields, not 80 feet under the Somme in 1916. But the details, the fabric wasn't wool, synthetic weave, fine and slick, like nylon. Buttons weren't silver, dull gray metal, same as the wall casing, and the weapon by his dead hand. Wooden stock, like a musket, but no flintlock, no hammer. Barrel thick, wrapped in copper coils turned green with age. Where the trigger should be, a glass cylinder, cracked and empty. "What is he?" Thomas asked, voice tight. "He looks like soldier from old wars. But that gun..." I reached for the logbook tucked in his sash, leather cover brittle, opened carefully. Pages filled with elegant, looping script, French. Archaic dialect, stiff and formal. I looked at the final entry's date. 12 October, 1812. I stared. 1812. Napoleon marching on Moscow. Cannons and horses. I looked from the date to the copper-coiled rifle, then to the massive architecture above us. "He's been here 100 years, I whispered. "Dead down here since before my grandfather was born." "Sir," Elias hissed. Geophone pressed against the wall, shaking. "Sir," the hum. It stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than the tunnel's silence. The rhythmic thrumming vibrating my teeth cut out instantly. Sudden absence of sound felt violent, like air had been sucked from the room. Then, light flickered deep in the darkness ahead. Not candle. Not lantern. Harsh, blue-white pulse, like arc welder sparking. Flashed once, twice, lighting distant pillars. And in that flash, I saw them. Silhouettes. Tall, thin shapes between pillars. Hundreds. Perfectly motionless, arranged in ranks like terracotta army. But when the blue light flashed the second time, the ranks had changed. They were closer. "They aren't statues," Elias whimpered, backing away. "Oh God, sir, they aren't statues." I grabbed the strange rifle from the dead man's grip. Instinct, maybe, and stood up. "Back to the breach," I ordered, voice steady though my heart hammered. "Move. Now." We began backing away, lamps trained on darkness. Then, from the hall's depths, a sound began. Not the hum. A voice. Not human. Grinding stones. Earth trying to speak. Echoed down the corridor, booming off black walls. Single, garbled word in a language terrifyingly like the logbooks, but distorted. Broken. Protocol. The blue light flared again, steady this time, rising wave of luminescence rushing toward us along the ceiling. And the shapes in the dark began to run, not like men. Jerky, unnatural speed, limbs flailing, but covering ground with terrifying efficiency. "Run!" I screamed. We turned, sprinted for the hole in the wall. Only way back to the world we understood. But as I dove for the breach, I saw something that froze my blood. The fused hole's edges, solid a moment ago, were glowing red. Rock softening. Breach beginning to close. The wound healing itself. I grabbed Elias by his webbing, threw him into the hole, as black stone began flowing like wax. We were racing against geology itself, and the things in the dark were getting closer. I dragged Elias through by his webbing, boots scrambling on slick floor. He tumbled into the mud of our excavation with a wet thud. I threw myself after, diving into familiar, suffocating clay just as the light behind me died. No slam. No grinding stone. Just a sound like heavy intake of breath. Wet suction popping my eardrums. Then the heat on my back vanished. I rolled onto my side, gasping for air that tasted of mildew and wet chalk, scrambling to aim the revolver. Elias's dropped lantern flickered in mud, casting dancing shadows against the tunnel face. The hole was gone. Where the breach had been, 4-foot circle of fused matter opening into Nightmare Cathedral, now only seamless black wall. It hadn't just closed, it healed. Surface flawless. I crawled forward, hands shaking so badly I could barely holster the weapon, touched where the opening had been. Warm. Not hot, not burning. Uncomfortably warm, like stone left in midday sun. Under my palm, faint vibration, dying tremor as molecules settled back into lattice. Most terrifying thing I'd ever felt. Stone doesn't heal. Stone breaks, crumbles, yields to pick and drill. Doesn't behave like living tissue. Sir? Elias curled fetal in the slurry, clutching his head. Sir, are they in the walls? Quiet, I hissed. Pressed my ear against the black face. Hum gone. Grinding voice gone. Only heavy oppressive silence of earth. Millions of tons pressing from all sides. But it felt different now. Before, earth was inert matter. Now it felt like skin of something sleeping. Sergeant Thomas stared at the wall, face mask of coal dust and pale shock. Looked at me, then the wall, then the copper-wrapped rifle I still clutched. Didn't speak. Didn't have to. We were 3 men in a grave, 80 feet down, who'd just seen the impossible. We move, I said, voice ragged and thin. Back to the shaft. Now. Leave equipment. Leave the drill. Leave it? Thomas whispered. Sir, quartermaster will have my stripes if I leave a diamond drill bit. Quartermaster isn't down here, Sergeant. Panic finally cracking my officer's veneer. We're leaving, sealing this drift, never coming back down this branch. We began the crawl. Mile-long journey from face to shaft, hands and knees through tunnel barely 4 feet high. Usually time for reflection, mindless rhythm. Left hand, right knee, left hand, right knee. But this time, every scrape of gear against timber props sounded like footsteps behind us. I kept looking back. Tunnel darkness seemed stretching, reaching. I knew intellectually the wall was solid. Knew those things, silhouettes with jagged, frantic speed, couldn't phase through matter. But I also knew rock didn't heal, and muskets didn't have glass vacuum tubes. My education, my engineering degree, was failing me. Physics I'd built my life on had just been suspended. Elias wept quietly ahead. Hitched breathing. He was the listener. Heard them first. I wondered what he heard now. Wondered if silence was truly silent for him. Or if he could hear machinery of that subterranean city resetting, preparing for next intrusion. When we reached the vertical shaft, air grew cooler. Smell of black wall, that sharp ozone scent, faded, replaced by familiar stench of latrine buckets and wood smoke from surface. We climbed the ladder, emerging into gray, drizzling twilight of trench system. Night. Flares popping over no man's land, bathing scarred landscape in sickly green. Machine guns chattering in distance. Dull thud 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 that felt comforting in its banality. This was the war I knew. War where men killed men with lead and steel, not sound waves and shadows. I ushered Thomas and Elias into my dugout, Small, cramped, corrugated iron and sandbags, single paraffin lamp. Pulled canvas flap shut, ordered Thomas to stand guard. "Nobody comes in," I said. "Not runner, not chaplain, nobody. Understand?" Thomas nodded, looked old. Coal dust in face lines like cracks in porcelain vase. "Sir, what did we see?" "That lad, dead one wearing uniform from Napoleonic Wars. But the gun." "I don't know, Sergeant," I said. Moved to my desk, swept away maps and geology reports, laid artifacts under lamplight. The rifle and logbook. In harsh light, rifle looked more alien. Walnut stock, dark and polished, beautifully grain-matched. Craftsmanship of London or Paris master gunsmith. But mechanism was wrong, where flintlock hammer and pan should be. Housing of gray, matte metal, same as wall casing. I picked it up. Heavy. Heavier than Lee Enfield. Ran finger over copper coils around barrel. Cold. Glass cylinder near trigger cracked. Remnants of filament inside, like light bulb interior. I realized then I wasn't looking at firearm. No chamber for cartridge. No firing pin. Directed energy weapon. Used electricity to project. What? Heat? Force? And carried by man who died while Wellington fought in Spain. I opened the logbook. Leather cracked loud in small room. Pages brittle, yellowed, but ink dark and legible. My French was passable, required for officers, but dialect was strange. Formal. Archaic. Skipped to last entries, squinting against dim light. 10 October, 1812. The bombardment continues from surface. Primitives breached upper shield near Vesdra sector. Deployed custodians to seal leak, but vibration causing stasis arrays to destabilize. Commander says we must initiate great silence early. We are not ready. 11 October, 1812. They use black powder charges now. So crude. So loud. They do not know we are here. Think they fight each other. Do not realize their war is merely tremor of our machinery waking up. Lost contact with Sector London and Sector Moscow. Surface fires burning out of control. 12 October, 1812. The protocol is active. The frequency is rising. I can feel it in my marrow. Not weapon of fire. Weapon of memory. Will wipe us from their minds. Bury our cities in mud of their own making. If anyone finds this, know we did not leave. We are waiting. The earth is not a home. It is a silo. I slammed the book shut, hands trembling. Primitives. I whispered. They think we're primitives. Sir? Thomas spoke from doorway. Major Vance is here. I froze. Hadn't heard footsteps. Hadn't heard challenge. Looked up to see canvas flap pushed aside. Major Vance. Intelligence. Attached to General Staff. Uniform always too clean for front line. Stepped into dugout, bringing gust of cold, wet air. Didn't look at me. Looked directly at rifle on desk. Didn't look surprised. Looked disappointed. Lieutenant Penhaligon, Vance said. Calm, cultured voice. Man who discussed cricket scores and casualties with same detached interest. Hoping you wouldn't breach for another 200 yards. Geology reports suggested anomaly was deeper in this sector. I stood up, hand drifting toward holster flap, though I didn't draw. You know about this? Major. We found structure. City. Things down there. Vance stepped forward, picked up rifle, handled it with familiarity that chilled me, checked stock, ran thumb over copper coils, nodded. Model 4. He muttered. Late dynastic. Pity about vacuum tube. Boys at Porton Down act like children on Christmas when we bring them one intact. Looked up at me then, eyes hard and flat. Sit down, Arthur. Can I call you Arthur? Seems appropriate, given we're discussing family secrets. Family secrets? I laughed. Sharp, hysterical sound. Major, haul down there big enough to fly Zeppelin through. Dead men in Napoleonic uniforms holding ray guns. And statues. That move when you look at them. This isn't secret. This is madness. It's history, Vance corrected. Real history. Not pablum they teach at school. You really think Napoleonic wars were about trade routes and royal succession? You think this great war, this mud-soaked abattoir we're standing in, is about assassination of an archduke? Gestured to logbook. We call them precursors, or empire if you prefer translation. Been here long time. Built crust you're standing on. We're just mold growing on ceiling. They killed them, I said, pointing at logbook. Entry says they were wiped out. Frequency weapon. Dormant, Vance said, not dead. Dormant. They went to sleep, Arthur. Set alarm clock. Went to sleep. Every time we dig too deep, explode too much ordnance, we risk hitting snooze button. Reached out, took logbook from desk, tucked under arm. Done very dangerous thing tonight, Lieutenant. Woke the house up. I'm reporting this, I said. Words hollow even as I spoke them. Going to Colonel. Have witnesses. Sergeant Thomas. Private Elias. Vance sighed. Sergeant Thomas is good man. He'll do as told. Private Elias. Afraid Private Elias is already unwell. Medical officer attending now. Shell shock. Terrible thing. Hallucinations. Paranoia. Hearing voices. Blood ran cold. What have you done to him? Nothing he didn't do to himself by listening, Vance said. Human brain isn't designed to process language of core. Breaks things. He'll be comfortable. But he won't be talking. Vance moved to door, hand on canvas. Breach sealed itself, I assume? Yes, I said. It melted. Good. Automated repair systems still functional. Buys us time. Time for what? Time to finish job, Vance said. You have mine to place, Lieutenant. Iron redoubt must be destroyed. I stared at him. You want me to go back down there? Can't. Tunnel compromised. Wall. Right next to workings. You won't go through wall, Vance said. You'll dig alongside it. Pack 50,000 pounds of ammonal against side of that black structure. Detonate it. Need to crack casing. Need to make sure whatever's waking down there is buried under million tons of chalk before it can get out. That's suicide, I whispered. If we crack that wall, if we let those things out. If you don't, Vance whispered, then Germans will. Their sappers are digging, Arthur. Closer than you think. If they breach Hall from their side, figure out how to turn lights on, Kaiser won't just win war. He'll own planet. Get men ready. You dig at 0600. He left. Canvas flap swung shut, leaving me with silence. I sat there long time. Looked at empty spot on desk where rifle had been. Looked at hands, still stained with gray clay of deep earth. Thought about Elias, curled in ball, mind shattered by sound I couldn't hear. Should have run, Should have deserted right then. Should have walked away from front. Never looked back. But I was officer. And more than that, I was man who'd seen truth. Knew now that war above ground was charade. Real war, the war for ownership of Earth, was happening 80 feet down. At 0500 I found Sergeant Thomas, sitting in Saphead, cleaning his spade. Looked up at me, eyes red-rimmed and hollow. "Elias is gone, sir," he said quietly. "MPs took him. Said he was raving. Said he tried to chew his own tongue out." "I know, Sergeant," I said. "Are we going back down?" I nodded. "Have to finish the mine." Thomas spat on ground. "Not right, sir. That rock, it ain't right. It knows we're here." "I know," I said. "That's why we're going to blow it to hell." We went back down. Descent into shaft felt like descending into throat of beast. Air thicker than before, heavy with metallic ozone tang. Seeping through clay. Seal on breach might be airtight, but presence of thing was leaking out. We crawled back to face. Men were silent. Moved like automatons, faces pale in candlelight. Reached spot where black wall blocked path. Still warm. I ordered men to start sidestepping, digging parallel gallery along black wall face without touching it. Needed cavity large enough for explosives. Delicate, terrifying work. Every pickaxe strike felt like knocking on sleeping man's door. 3 hours without incident. Silence held. Then the nosebleed started. Not just one man. All of us. Sudden sharp pressure in sinuses. Warm liquid dripping onto upper lip. Wiped it away. Bright red. Looked at Thomas. Bleeding from both nostrils. Blood tracking through coal dust on chin. Evans, burly Welshman next to him, coughed. Spray of blood hitting timber prop. "Sir," Thomas said, voice thick. "The air." "Keep digging," I ordered, though my own head swam. Almost at chamber point. Then sound returned. Not hum this time. Not rhythmic heartbeat. Scratch. Came from other side of black wall. Right next to where Evans worked. Scritch. 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 We all froze. Silence in tunnel absolute, save for dripping blood and ragged breathing. Scritch. Scritch. Tap. Metal on stone. Someone. Something. Tapping on wall from inside. "They know," Thomas whispered. "Oh Jesus, sir. They know exactly where we are." I moved to wall, pressed hand against black surface. Tapping directly under palm. Deliberate. Intelligent. Tap. 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 Then a voice. Didn't come through wall. Didn't come through air. Blossomed inside my skull. Sudden violent intrusion dropping me to knees. Wasn't word. Was image. I saw tunnel. Our tunnel. Seen from above. Through rock. Like earth was made of glass. Saw heat signatures of my men. Glowing red and blue dark. And saw something else. German tunnel. Below us. 20 feet below. They hadn't been digging toward us. They'd been digging under the structure. And in vision, I saw German sappers breaking through. Saw flash of blue light. Saw slaughter. Then saw German officer, face melting from radiation burns, activate something. Machine. Pillar of obsidian beginning to pulse. Vision snapped off. I was back in mud, vomiting bile and blood. "Sir," Thomas shaking me. "Sir, what is it?" "They're underneath us," I gasped, wiping sick from mouth. "Germans, already inside, and they've turned it on." As if to punctuate, floor of tunnel lurched. Seismic ripple rolled through clay, cracking timber supports. Dust rained down. From deep, deep below, sound began to rise. Scream. Not human. Metal tearing. Rock screaming in agony. Black wall next to us began to glow. Not red this time. Blue. Pale, sickly luminescence revealing veins within material. "Mine," I shouted, scrambling to feet. "Forget chamber. Bring a monal. Bring it all. Blow it now." "But sir," Thomas yelled over rising roar, "haven't tamped it. We'll bring whole ridge down on our heads." "If we don't," I screamed, staring at glowing wall where silhouette of hand with too many fingers, was beginning to press through from other side. "There won't be ridge left to stand on." "Prime charges, Sergeant. We are burning this out." Thomas looked at wall, then at me. Saw hand pressing against stone, stretching it like latex. Nodded once. "Run leads," he roared to men. "Get cases. Move, you bastards. Move." We were frantically stacking crates of high explosives against glowing wall when floor 10 yards down simply dissolved. Didn't collapse. Disintegrated into gray dust. And rising out of hole, clad in gas mask fused to face and uniform smoking, was German soldier. He wasn't attacking. Was climbing, scrabbling, clawing up the clay. Looked at me, eyes wide and milky white behind shattered mask lenses. Reached out hand, fingers blackened and skeletal. "Hilfe," he croaked. "Sie sind wach." They are awake. Then something grabbed his legs. Something fast. Something black. Yanked back down into hole with violence that snapped his spine. Didn't even have time to scream. I looked down hole. Blue light blinding. And rising out of abyss, swarming up walls like ants escaping flood, were the custodians. "Blow it," I screamed at Thomas. "Blow it now." Thomas slammed plunger down on detonator box. Split second of nothing. No sound. No flash. Just suffocating weight of tunnel and frantic shallow breathing of men who knew they were already dead. I had time to think wiring failed. Damp got to a monal, or strange blue energy had neutralized our explosives. Time to look at hole, where German soldier was dragged down. See first of those black, spindly shapes cresting lip, moving with sickening, jerky speed. Then world turned white. Blast wave hit like physical hammer. Didn't just knock us down, picked us up, threw us backward down sap tunnel. Sound beyond loud, pressure crushing air from lungs, vision starbursting into black and red. Timber props shattered. Roof came down. Don't remember immediate aftermath. Remember sensation of being buried. Terrifying claustrophobic weight of wet clay pressing chest. Pinning arms. Filling mouth with grit. Remember darkness. Absolute and heavy. Ringing in ears like church bell tolling underwater. Clawed back to consciousness. Headlamp gone. But there was light. Not warm yellow of candle or harsh white of flare. Blue. Steady, pulsing blue glow filtering through cracks in collapsed earth. Pushed upward. Clay was loose, churned by explosion. Dragged myself from rubble, coughing up mud, body screaming protest. Checked limbs, bruised, battered, nothing broken. Still had revolver, though holster packed with dirt. "Thomas?" I croaked. Voice sounded distant, muffled by ringing. "Sound off!" Thomas, grown from pile of shattered timbers to my left. Scrambled over, digging with bare hands. Found Sergeant Thomas half buried, face mask of blood and clay, but eyes open, staring past me at what lay beyond collapse. I turned around. Explosion had done its job. 50,000 pounds of high explosive in confined space. Should have collapsed entire ridge, buried us forever. Instead, blown tunnel wide open. Clay and chalk vaporized, or pushed aside, revealing full scale of what we'd been digging next to. Black wall was breached. Not small hole this time. Entire section, maybe 30 feet high and 50 feet wide, shattered. Material lay in jagged, smoking shards on floor of cavern beyond. And through that breach, I could see the city. Weren't just looking at hallway anymore. Looking at metropolis. Caverns stretched into infinite distance, lit by same blue bioluminescence. Huge towers of black stone rose from floor, connecting to ceiling hundreds of feet above. Looked like cooling fins of massive engine, or skyscrapers of nightmare Manhattan. Between towers, bridges spanned vast chasms, and down in depths, movement. Rivers of light flowing like lava. Machinery size of battleships moving with silent, terrifying purpose. But sound hit hardest. Hum was back. Louder now. Physical vibration rattling teeth, blurring vision. Wasn't just noise, was broadcast. "Sir," Thomas whispered, clutching my arm. "Look at floor. Look at pods." We'd been blown into structure, standing on wide platform inside breach. And all around, arranged in neat military rows, were stone sarcophagi. Thousands. 7 feet long, same black material as walls, but lids transparent. Or had been. Now shattered. I walked to nearest one, boots crunching on what looked like glass but felt like ice. Pod empty. Residue inside, sticky, amber fluid smelling of copper and ozone. Next one. Empty. Next. Empty. "They're all open," I said, horror rising in throat. Explosion, it woke them up. "No, sir," Thomas said, pointing to lid near platform edge. "Look at glass. Broken from outside." He was right. Shards scattered inside pod. Something had smashed its way in, not out. Or something had come along, broken them open to retrieve what was inside. Germans, I realized. Been down here longer than we thought. Harvesting them. We moved deeper into hall, stepping over debris. Air thick with dust and sickly sweet musk. Needed way out. Tunnel behind us collapsed. Only way forward, find another breach or ventilation shaft. Past massive wall relief, carved directly into black stone. Mural stretching up 50 feet into gloom. Shown surviving trench torch on it. Weak yellow beam dancing across carvings. Depicted war, but not war of swords and shields. Showed surface of earth burning. Cities looking like Rome, or Babylon, or maybe Atlantis, being bombarded from sky. But ships in sky weren't alien saucers. Crude, blocky things. Looked like ironclads with balloons attached. "That's us," Thomas said, voice trembling. "That's humans. Primitive humans." Carvings showed armies of men in rough armor swarming advanced cities, smashing machines, killing tall, thin figures that defended them. Showed empire retreating underground, sealing earth behind them. Then final panel. Showed earth again. But this time, towers rising from ground, emitting waves of energy. Humans on surface, clutching heads, falling to knees, forgetting. The protocol, I whispered, remembering logbook. Weapon of memory. Didn't just hide. Made us forget they were ever here. Wiped slate clean. Sir, Thomas hissed. Light ahead. Snapped off torch. Down corridor, 200 yards away. Flicker of yellow light. Faint. Unsteady. Candle. Or lantern. Move toward it, keeping to shadows of great pillars. Grip on revolver slick with sweat and blood. Crept closer, until heard voices. Speaking German. Peered around edge of massive stone buttress. Center of walkway, huddled behind hastily erected barricade of stone debris and sandbags. Squad of German soldiers. Looked like hell. Uniforms torn, covered in same gray dust, coating everything down here. Most wounded. One man lying on back, chest heaving, bandaged with bloody rags. Another sitting with head in hands, rocking. But officer caught my attention. Standing in center of circle, staring out into dark. Wasn't holding Luger or rifle. Holding one of copper-coiled weapons. Stepped out from shadows, revolver raised. Hände hoch! German spun around, weapons coming up. Second, thought we were dead. Standoff in dark. 80 feet down, surrounded by monsters. But officer barked command. They lowered rifles. Looked at me. Eyes wide. Pupils dilated so much they looked black. Looked like man who hadn't slept in week. Man who'd seen things that burned sanity out of him. English? He asked, voice a rasp. Lieutenant Penhaligon, Royal Engineers, I said, keeping gun leveled. Drop weapon. Officer looked at strange rifle in hands, laughed. Dry, cracking sound. This? Useless. Battery. Charge. Dead. Tossed rifle onto ground. Clattered loudly in silence. Hauptmann Müller, he said. Pioneer Battalion 18. You are late. Late for what? I asked, moving closer, signaling Thomas to watch flanks. The waking, Müller said. Gestured to darkness surrounding us. Breached outer shell 3 days ago. Thought it was cavern. Natural formation. Found things. Technology. My colonel wanted to bring to Kaiser. Said it would win war. Müller spat glob of blood onto black floor. Turned on power. Found console. Looked like keys. Like piano. Pressed them. Then lights came on. And custodians? I asked. The shadows, Müller whispered. Yes. Came from walls. Do not bleed, Lieutenant. Shot them with Mausers. Threw grenades. Just stood up again. Not alive. Machines made of meat. Pointed to wounded man on ground. Hans touched one of pillars. Vibration. Cooked him from inside. Microwave radiation, I think. Or something like it. We need to get out, I said. My tunnel collapsed. Your breach still open? Müller shook head. Closed. Sealed itself hour ago. We are trapped. Are, how you say, leftovers. Has to be way out, Thomas said, stepping forward. These things built this place. Must have exits. Exits for them, Müller said. Not for us. We are infestation. Immune system is active now. As if on cue, hum spiked. Low thrum to high-pitched whine drilling into skull. Nosebleeds started again. Mueller clutched head, groaning. Man rocking back and forth began to scream. "It's coming," Mueller gasped. "The purge." "What purge?" I yelled over noise. "The frequency," Mueller shouted. "Resets memory. But if too close, if inside emitter field, doesn't just wipe mind, wipes nervous system, tells heart to stop beating." Looked around frantically. Blue light in hall intensifying, pulsing with whine. Shadows between pillars lengthening, twisting. "We have to stop it," I said. "If they turned it on, we can turn it off." "Where is console? Where did you activate it?" Mueller pointed deeper into darkness, toward massive ziggurat-like structure rising from center of city. "The temple. Central hub, but cannot go there. Custodians. They are guarding it." "We don't have choice," I said. "Stay here, we die. Go back, we die." "Thomas, gather their explosives. You have charges?" Mueller nodded. "Satchels. Gabalte Ladung." "Good. We're going to temple. And we're going to shut this bloody noise off. Insane plan. Suicide mission led by British engineer and German pioneer. Fighting side by side against enemy older than human history. But war makes strange bedfellows, and desperation makes for simple orders. Moved out in diamond formation. Me and Mueller at point. Thomas and surviving Germans covering rear. Moved through streets of dead city, passing under arches defying gravity, walking over bridges, spanning abysses of infinite depth. Architecture oppressive. Wasn't built for humans. Steps too tall, doorways too high. Built for giants. Or machines. Saw them again. Custodians. Standing on building ridges, watching us. Tall, spindly silhouettes against blue light. Didn't attack. Not yet. Hurting us. "They want us to go to temple," Mueller whispered. "Guiding us." "Why?" I asked. "Maybe they need us," he said. "Maybe machine requires input. Biological input." Reached base of ziggurat. Pyramid of black metal, smooth and featureless, rising 1,000 feet into air. At base, massive doorway, open and waiting. Entered. Interior single, vast chamber. In center, suspended in midair by rings of magnetic force, sphere of pulsing blue light. Beautiful. Terrifying. Looked like captive star. Below sphere, on raised dice, the console. As Mueller described, rows of crystalline keys, glowing with internal light. But someone already there, standing at console, back to us, wearing tattered British uniform. "Elias," I whispered. Figure turned. Was Elias, but not boy who dug tunnels with me. Eyes gone, burned out, leaving empty, blackened sockets. Skin translucent, glowing with veins of blue light. And smiling. "Sir," he said. Voice wasn't his own, was grinding voice of walls. Voice of core. "You are late. Protocol is almost complete." "Elias," I said, stepping forward, gun lowered. "Step away from machine." "I can hear them now, sir," Elias said. "All of them. The Empire. They aren't dead. Just waiting. In data. In light." gestured to pulsing sphere. They want to come back. Want their world back. Surface. Messy. Chaotic. They want to clean it. It's genocide, I said. They want to wipe us out. Not wipe out, Elias corrected gently. Reset. We are error in code, sir. Virus that grew while computer was sleeping. Shoot him, Mueller hissed. He is not your man anymore. He is interface. I raised revolver. Hand shaking. This was my man. My responsibility. Had dragged him down here. Failed him. Elias, I said. Please. Don't worry, sir, Elias said. Reached out, pressed hand onto console. Sphere flared brighter, hum rising to scream. Doesn't hurt, just silence. Shadows in corners detached themselves. Custodians. Dozens. Rushed forward, limbs blurring with speed. Fire! I screamed. Firefight that followed was blur of noise and light. Germans opened up with Mausers, cracks of rifles deafening an enclosed space. I fired Webley until hammer clicked empty, reloading with trembling fingers. Custodians didn't die. Bullets sparked off carapaces or punched through meat without slowing them down. Tore into German line. Saw man lifted into air, torn in half like ragdoll. Saw Mueller empty magazine, then draw trench knife and charge Shadow twice his height. Thomas, I yelled. Charges! The sphere. Thomas already moving. Sprinting upstairs of dies, satchel charge in each hand. Dodged swipe from custodian that would have taken his head off. Ducked under swing of another. Threw himself at base of console. Elias turned to him. Raised hand, and wave of force, pure kinetic energy, slammed Thomas backward. Tumbled downstairs, charges skittering across floor. No! I shouted. Ran for charges. Custodian stepped in front of me. 7 feet tall, faceless, body nightmare of exposed muscle and black metal. Raised limb ending in blade. Didn't have time to reload. Didn't have time to think. Swung empty revolver at its face. Futile gesture. Then shot rang out. Not crack of Mauser. Booming, electrical discharge. Custodian's head exploded in shower of blue sparks and black ichor. Toppled backward. Looked up. Mueller standing there, holding copper-coiled rifle he'd discarded earlier. Coils glowing green. Vacuum tube lit. It works! Mueller screamed, laughing maniacally. Draws from field. Closer we get to sphere, more it charges. Fired again, beam of coherent light punching hole straight through another custodian. Cover me, I yelled. Grabbed satchel charges. Scrambled upstairs. Elias waiting. Didn't look human anymore. Skin cracking. Light spilling from fissures. Overloading. You can't stop it, Elias said. Voice chorus of 1,000 screams. Signal already sent. Towers waking up. Didn't argue. Didn't try to reason with thing wearing friend's face. Tackled him. Hit floor of dies. He was strong. Unnaturally strong. Grabbed my throat, fingers burning skin. Couldn't breathe. Could feel windpipe crushing. Jammed satchel charge between us. Right against his chest. Pulled pin. Forgive me, lad, I gasped. Kicked him away, rolled off dies just as fuse burned down. Explosion wasn't big, just enough to shatter console and vaporize interface. But effect catastrophic. Sphere, cut off from control, destabilized. Began wobbling, spinning wildly. Arcs of lightning lashed out, striking walls, floor, custodians. Hum turned to shriek. Gravity in room seemed to reverse. Lifted off floor, weightless, floating in storm of debris and blue light. "Run!" Mueller's voice drifted up to me. "Core!" "It is going critical." Hit ground hard as gravity snapped back. Sphere collapsing in on itself, turning from blue to angry, burning violet. Custodians freezing up, dropping like puppets with strings cut. We ran. Me, Thomas, Mueller, 2 surviving Germans. Ran out of temple, back across bridges, back toward breach. City around us dying. Lights flickering out. Towers crumbling, shaking apart as seismic dampeners failed. Reached breach in wall just as shockwave hit. Threw us out of cavern, tumbling into rubble of excavation. Black wall behind us groaned, sound like earth splitting open. Then, with final grinding crash, ceiling of cavern gave way. Millions of tons of chalk and clay crashed down, burying city, temple, secrets of empire. We lay there in dark, coughing, bleeding, alive. Silence returned. But wasn't silence of enemy, was silence of tomb. "Is it over?" Thomas whispered. "No," I said, looking at map Mueller had shoved into my hand before we ran. "Didn't just have one city, look at grid. Shone light on paper. Network of hubs connected by ley lines. Paris, London, Berlin, Moscow, New York. They're everywhere," I said. "Just blew up one relay station. Rest of network still out there." Mueller laughed. Broken, hopeless sound. "Then we have work to do, Ja. War is not over. Has just changed management." I looked at Black Wall, now buried under rubble, sealed forever. Thought of Elias. Thought of things waiting in dark beneath our feet. "Yes," I said. "We have work to do." Then, from darkness of tunnel behind us, footsteps. Clean, crisp footsteps. Not soldiers. Major Vance stepped into light. Wasn't alone. Behind him, dozen men in gas masks and heavy rubberized coats, carrying flamethrowers. "Excellent work, Lieutenant," Vance said, voice muffled by mask. "Neutralized immediate threat. But afraid you've seen bit too much." Nodded to his men. "Clean it up. No witnesses." Flamethrowers hissed to life. In confined space of collapsed tunnel, sound like jet engines starting up. Twin tongues of liquid fire roared into darkness, illuminating shattered clay and twisted rebar with terrifying orange brilliance. Heat instantaneous, suffocating wave rolling over us, sucking oxygen from air, turning damp grave-like chill into furnace. "Major!" I screamed, shielding face with arm. "We're British soldiers. Stand down!" Major Vance didn't flinch. Stood silhouetted against firelight, gas mask making him look like insect, hands clasped behind back. Men in rubberized coats advanced, tanks clanking softly. Weren't aiming at rubble, weren't aiming at sealed breach, aiming at us. "Regrettable, Lieutenant," Vance's voice came through mask, tinny and distorted. "Truly, done Empire great service today. But Empire is built on secrets. And this is biggest secret of all." I looked at Thomas. Looked at Mueller. Battered, bleeding, exhausted beyond measure. Just survived war against ancient machines and city-defying physics. Crawled out of hell only to find devil waiting at door. Mueller moved first. Pioneer. New fire. Knew when flamethrower operator pulls trigger, you have less than second to act before carbonized. Didn't run away. Ran at them. With roar more animal than human, German officer charged nearest flamethrower team, still had copper-coiled rifle in hands. Coils dull now, charge depleted, but still heavy club of walnut and alien metal. Operator panicked, squeezed trigger too early. Jet of flame caught Mueller in shoulder, setting uniform ablaze. But Mueller didn't stop. Slammed into man, driving rifle butt into operator's mask. Glass shattered. Operator screamed as burning fuel sprayed back onto him. "Run!" Mueller shrieked, voice gargle of agony as fire consumed him. "Go deep! Find others!" Chaos. Tunnel filled with black, oily smoke. Screams of burning men echoed off clay walls. Thomas grabbed my arm, grip like iron. "Sir, side gallery, ventilation shaft." Knew the one he meant. Narrow, unstable drift we'd abandoned weeks ago because of bad air. Led down, not up. Led deeper into chalk, toward old aquifer. Dead end. But dead end better than fiery grave. Scrambled over rubble, coughing in smoke, diving into darkness of side tunnel, just as second stream of fire washed over spot where we'd been standing. Heat blistered back of my neck. Smelled burning hair. Smelled cooking meat. We ran. Didn't crawl. Ran stooped over, smashing helmets against low timber beams, sliding in slurry of mud and water. Behind us, orange glow of fire faded, replaced by crushing absolute dark. Ran until lungs burned and legs gave out. Collapsed in heap at bottom of drift, gasping for air that tasted of stagnant water and ancient dust. "They killed him," Thomas wheezed, spitting black phlegm. "That German saved us, and they just burned him. They're going to burn everything," I said, checking revolver cylinder by touch. 2 rounds left. 2 rounds to fight squad of flamethrowers. Vance isn't here to rescue us. He's here to sanitize site. Going to collapse whole sector. "But the city," Thomas said. "Things in walls, can't just burn that away." "No," I said. "But you can bury witnesses." Shone light around. Batteries dying, beam yellow and weak. We were in natural cavern. Bubble and chalk formed by water erosion millions of years ago. Floor covered in shallow pool of water. Black and still. But wasn't empty. Sitting in center of cavern, half submerged in water, was shape. Metallic. Angular. Looked like diamond, maybe 10 feet high, resting on point. Made of same black material as city. "Another one," Thomas whispered. "Another artifact." I waded into water. Freezing. Reached out. Touched black surface. Cold. Inert. But as fingers brushed it, symbol glowed on face of diamond. Blue triangle. It's a marker, I realized. Waypoint. Mueller's map. Showed grid. Must be node. "Sir," Thomas said, voice tight. "Listen." Strained ears. Above us. Through hundreds of feet of rock. Dull, rhythmic thumping. Thud, thud, thud. Wasn't artillery. Wasn't machine guns. Digging. Mechanical digging. "They're drilling," I said. From surface, Vance bringing in heavy machinery. Going to drop deep penetration bomb. Crack aquifer and flood hole system. "We're trapped," Thomas said. Slumped against cavern wall, fight draining out of him. 80 feet down, exit blocked by fire. Roof about to come down. "Over, sir." I looked at black diamond. Looked at map shoved into tunic pocket. Map Mueller gave me. Pulled it out, smoothing damp paper against knee. Grid. Lines connecting cities. Paris, London, Berlin. But another line. Faint dotted line running from our location, Sector 4, straight down. Not across map. Through it. Not over, I said. Not yet. Thomas, look at this. Showed him map. This symbol here matches shape of this artifact. Not just marker, it's elevator. Elevator? Thomas looked at me like I'd lost mind. Sir, with respect, you've got shell shock. That's rock. Transport node, I insisted. Logbook said Earth is silo. Silos have lifts, service shafts. If this thing connects to lower levels, to core. Core? Thomas stepped back. You want to go deeper? Into place where those shadow things live? Only way out, I said. Vance expects us to try and dig up. Ceiling surface. Won't be looking for us in basement. And if it's not elevator? Thomas asked quietly. If it's just tombstone? Then we die here, I said. In dark, waiting for gas or fire. Thomas looked at water. Looked at tunnel we came from, where faint smell of smoke still lingered. Took deep breath, squared shoulders, nodded. I'm clay kicker, sir, he said. Spent life digging holes. Might as well see what's at bottom of biggest one in world. We approached diamond. No buttons. No levers. Just glowing blue triangle. Remembered what Mueller said about console and temple. Input. Biological input. Placed hand flat against symbol. Nothing happened. Maybe it needs more, I muttered. Maybe needs key. Remembered rifle. Copper coils. Energy. Left it behind with Mueller's body. Had nothing. Logbook, Thomas said. Dead man. Had fob. On his belt. You took it, didn't you, sir? Padded pockets. Fingers closed around small, cold object shoved into webbing hours ago. Back when we first found body. Pulled it out. Prism of clear crystal, wrapped in silver wire. Held it up to blue triangle. Crystal hummed. Vibrating in hand, singing perfect, clear note. Blue light on diamond flared brighter, pulsing in sync with crystal. Then, water around artifact began to boil. Not with heat, with sound. Surface churned, froth rising as water agitated by ultrasonic waves. Black diamond split open. Didn't crack, divided silently down middle. Two halves sliding apart to reveal hollow interior. Capsule. Just big enough for two men. Get in, I said. Scrambled inside. Interior lined with soft gray material felt like velvet, but tough as leather. No controls. Just single depression in wall, shaped like crystal. Looked at Thomas. Pale, sweating, clutching rosary beads. Ready, Sergeant? No, sir, he said honestly. But let's do it anyway. Pressed crystal into slot. Doors slid shut. Darkness absolute for second. Then interior lit up with soft amber glow. Felt lurch in stomach. Sensation of falling. Falling fast. Weren't moving up. Dropping. Capsule plummeted. Felt pressure building in ears. Going down. Past clay. Past chalk. Past bedrock. Descending into crust of earth. Descent lasted minutes. Or maybe hours. Time felt slippery in that capsule. Watched walls of pod. Translucent now, showing strata of earth rushing by. Layers of gray, then red, then black. Then rock opened up. burst out of shaft into space that made city we destroyed look like village. In caverns so vast it had own weather system. Clouds drifted below ceiling glowing with artificial sunlight. And below us, stretching to horizon, continent. Green. Lush, vibrant green. Forests of fern-like trees, rivers of silver water, and cities, gleaming crystalline cities, connected by tubes of light. Hollow earth, I whispered. Stories. They were true. Capsule slowed, banking toward one of cities. Landed softly on platform high atop spire. Doors opened. Air that rushed in was sweet. Smelled of jasmine and ozone. Warmer here. Tropical. Stepped out. On balcony overlooking metropolis of glass and light. Vehicles. Silent, wingless craft. Zipped between towers. And walking on bridges below were people. Looked human. Tall, blonde, perfect. Wore tunics of shimmering white fabric. Moved with grace and purpose. Are they? The Empire? Thomas asked, gripping railing. No, I said, looking at statues lining balcony. Not statues of tall, thin custodians. Statues of humans. Humans in armor. Humans holding swords. Survivors, I realized. Ones who retreated. Ones who hid. Door opened behind us. Group of men and women stepped out. Tall, armed with silver staves. Didn't look hostile. Looked curious. One of them, woman with eyes like polished sapphires, stepped forward. Spoke in language that sounded like singing, but as she spoke, words seemed to rearrange themselves in mind until I understood them. You are from surface, she said, not question. Yes, I said. Escaped. Empire. Machines. They are waking up. Woman nodded gravely. We know. Felt tremor when you destroyed Node. Bought us time. But only little. Gestured to city below. Welcome to Agartha, Lieutenant Penhaligon. We have been waiting for you. Waiting for me? I asked. Why me? Because you are first, she said. First of surface dwellers to return key. Pointed to crystal in my hand. That key, she said, does not just open doors. Unlocks archive. Contains history of your world. True history. History they made you forget. Let us inside. Room filled with screens. Holographic displays floating in air. Showed maps of surface. Showed war. Trenches. Mud. Your war, she said, is distraction. Ritual. Blood you spill soaks into earth and feeds machines. Every artillery shell, every bomb, every death. It is energy. You are not fighting for land. You are fighting to power battery that keeps them asleep. Knees gave way. Sank onto bench, staring at screens. We're fuel, I whispered. Whole war, just fuel. Yes, she said. But now that you are here, we can stop it. Can sever connection. But will require sacrifice. You must go back. Back? Thomas shouted. Back to hell upstairs? Just escaped. You must go back, she insisted. Must plant seed. Must tell others. If surface does not stop war. If blood continues to flow, Empire will rise. And this time, no retreat. They will scour surface clean. Nobody will believe us, I said. Vance. Government. They know. They're part of it. They are frightened children, she said. Think they can control dragon by feeding it. You must show them fire. Handed me device. Small, spherical, pulsing with white light. This is truth bomb, she said. Not explosive. Data packet. If you detonate this in upper atmosphere, we'll override frequency. We'll break protocol. For 1 hour, every human on Earth will remember. We'll remember who they are. We'll remember empire. We'll remember genocide. And then, I asked. Then, she said, choice is yours. Can continue to sleep, or can wake up and fight. Let us back to capsule. Ride up is faster, she said. We'll deposit you near surface, but far from front. You will be deserters. You will be hunted. We're already dead men, Thomas said, stepping into pod. Looked at me. Ready to go home, sir? I looked at Crystal City one last time. Looked at peace, advancement, life that could have been ours if we hadn't been reset. Let's go, I said. Doors closed. Capsule shot upward. Emerged in forest in Ardennes, miles behind lines. Night. Capsule dissolved into dust as soon as we stepped out, leaving no trace. Walked for days. Stole food from farms. Dodged patrols. Made way to coast. Thomas and I parted ways in Calais. He went to find family in Wales. Said he was going to dig holes so deep no one would ever find him. Never saw him again. Didn't detonate sphere. Not then. Couldn't. Was coward. Knew if I used it, if I woke world up, panic would destroy civilization faster than empire ever could. So hid it. Buried in lead box in basement of family home in Cornwall. Went back to war. Reported for duty. Told them I'd been blown clear of tunnel. Wandered dazed for weeks. They believed me. Or pretended to. Vance was gone. Transferred to another project. War ended in 1918. Guns fell silent. Blood stopped flowing. And for a while, Earth slept. But now I hear hum again. I'm old man now. It's 1939. Radio says Germans invaded Poland. Tanks rolling again. Bombers in sky. Another war. Another blood sacrifice. They are feeding battery again. Can feel vibration in floorboards. Can hear scratch of metal on stone and dreams. Empire is waking up. Snooze button hit too many times. I'm going down to basement tonight. Going to dig up box. Going to take sphere to highest hill I can find. Don't know if anyone will believe this story. Don't know if it matters. But if you're listening to this, if you suddenly remember City of Black Stone and war that burned sky, know that it wasn't dream. It was memory. And we are about to fight real war. I'm digging. Specific motion. Digging. Uses muscles you forget you have until you need them again. Shoulders, lower back, oblique twist of torso as you throw soil aside. I'm 62 now. Heart fluttering like trapped bird, knees clicking with every movement. But muscle memory is there. Royal engineer. Tunneler. Dug under ridge at Messines. Dug through clay of Sami. Now digging through concrete floor of my own basement in Cornwall, listening to air raid sirens wailing over Plymouth in distance. Lead box is heavy. Buried it deep, wrapped in oilcloth and encased in foot of cement, hoping radiation, or whatever energy sphere leaked, wouldn't poison house. As pickaxe cracks concrete casing, Familiar smell hits. Not damp cellar mold. Ozone. Smell of black hall. Pulled box free. Breath coming in ragged gasps. Hum louder down here. Not just in head anymore. Dust on floorboards vibrating, dancing in complex geometric patterns. House shaking, not from German bombs, but from resonance of object I'd hidden 20 years ago. Creed lid open. Sphere hadn't aged. Exactly as Agarthan woman gave it. Perfect globe of white, pearlescent material, pulsing with slow, rhythmic light. But pulse faster now. Urgent. Knew what was happening outside. Knew guns were firing in Poland. Knew blood was flowing again. Wrapped it in blanket. Carried upstairs. Weight wrong. Felt light, almost hollow, but pulled at gravity around it, making steps heavy. Walked out to truck. Old Ford utility vehicle used for farm. Placed sphere on passenger seat. Night suffocating. Blackout regulations meant no street lights, no house lights, nothing but sliver of moon and sweeping beams of searchlights on horizon. But didn't need lights. Sphere glowing through blanket, casting soft, ghostly illumination inside cab. Started engine. Coughed and sputtered, then roared to life. Shifted into gear and drove, heading for moors. Needed height. Agarthan woman said device needed to be detonated in upper atmosphere, but didn't have plane. Didn't have rocket. Had hill. Rough tour. Second highest point in Cornwall. Would have to be enough. If blast radius large enough, if signal strong enough, maybe would arc into ionosphere. Maybe. As I drove through winding, high-hedged lanes, saw them. At first, thought it was fatigue, eyes playing tricks in blackout. But then saw shape detach itself from darkness of hawthorn bush and lope alongside truck. Tall. Too tall to be man. Moved with that sickening, jerky speed I remembered from Cavern. Custodians were here. Weren't trapped in chalk of France anymore. Network was active. Leaking out of nodes. Hunting for anomaly. Hunting for key. Floored accelerator. Old Ford shuddered, bouncing over ruts. Shadow kept pace. Limbs blurring. Saw it lash out. Blade of black metal slicing through canvas roof of truck. Missing my head by inches. Swerved. Slamming truck into hedgerow. Crushing shape between fender and earth. Sound like tearing metal. Screech shattering windshield. Then truck spun back onto road. Didn't look back. Knew it wasn't dead. Can't kill them with truck. Can only slow them down. Reached base of moor hour later. Hum deafening now. Felt like teeth were loose in gums. Nose bleeding, warm copper taste dripping down back of throat. Just like tunnel. Frequency rising. Empire waking up. Grabbed sphere and began to climb. Rough tour is rugged stack of granite. Prehistoric spine rising out of bog. In daylight, stark and beautiful. In dark, with wind howling off Atlantic. Fortress. Scrambled up sheep paths, clutching sphere to chest. Getting hot. Burning skin through wool coat, but didn't let go. Halfway up when lights appeared. Weren't flashlights. Headlights. Convoy of black cars, sleek and ominous, tearing across grass at bottom of hill. Stopped in fan formation, lights pinning me against rock face. Men stepped out. Weren't wearing military uniforms. Long trench coats and gas masks. Carried weapons looked like Thompson submachine guns, but barrels thick, modified. Voice amplified by loudspeaker boomed over wind. Lieutenant Penhaligon. Stop. Kept climbing. Heart hammering so hard thought it would burst. Arthur, please. Don't be fool. You don't know what you're doing. Stopped. Knew that voice. Older, raspier, but still had that cultured, detached tone of man discussing cricket scores at funeral. Vance, I shouted down into glare. Thought you were dead. Figure separated from group, began to walk up path. Moved slowly, leaning on cane. Wasn't wearing mask. Face was ruin, scarred by fire. Skin shiny and tight. One eye missing, covered by black patch. Not dead, Vance called out, stopping 20 yards below me. Just enlightened. Fire in tunnel was harsh lesson, Arthur, but taught me truth. You can't fight fire. You have to become stoker. You're feeding them, I yelled, clutching sphere. This war, Hitler, Poland, all you, isn't it? You're ramping up voltage. Vance laughed. Dry, cracking sound. We don't start wars, Arthur. Human nature does that. We just direct energy. Ensure harvest is efficient. Have any idea what Empire offers us in exchange? Order. Perfect, crystalline order. No more chaos. No more disease. Just silence of machine. It's not order, I screamed. It's extinction. It's reset. They wipe us out and start over. And look at us. Vance gestured to blackout, to world holding breath for slaughter. Are we worth saving? Look at what we do with free will. Build mustard gas. Build bombers. Maybe reset is what we need. Maybe next batch will be better. Took step closer. Give me sphere, Arthur. It's a Garthan tech. Unstable. If you activate that, won't just stop war. You'll shatter minds of half population, induce global psychotic break. Better madness than slavery, I said. Turned and scrambled up final slope, boots slipping on wet granite. Open fire, Vance said, voice bored. Ground around me exploded. Bullets chipped stone, whining past ears. Felt hammer blow to thigh, sudden, hot numbness. Stumbled, falling to knees. Crawled last 10 feet, dragging bad leg, leaving trail of blood on rock. Reached summit. Wind ferocious here. Could see lights of Plymouth in distance. Searchlights sweeping clouds. Unwrapped blanket. Sphere blinding now. Hovered slightly above hand. Anti-gravity suspensors kicking in. Singing, pure, high note cutting through hum of Empire. Looked down. Vance's men advancing uphill, black shapes against headlights. And behind them, coming out of moors, were others. Custodians. Dozens. Ignoring men. Focused entirely on me. Didn't have crystal key this time. Didn't have console. Just had sphere and instructions woman gave me. Plant the seed. Placed hands on sphere. Felt like touching live wire. Energy surged up arms, seizing muscles. Couldn't let go if wanted to. I remember, I whispered, closing eyes. Remember Black Hall. Remember Elias. Remember map. Sphere flared. White light expanded, swallowing summit of Tor. Gunfire stopped. Wind stopped. Then, vision hit me. Wasn't just signal. Was download. Sphere forced history of world into brain in nanosecond. Saw first age. Saw empire at height. Civilization spanning globe. Harnessing power of core. Building cities of black stone reaching stratosphere. Saw them conquer disease, conquer death, conquer gravity. Saw their hubris. Saw them try to tap into soul of planet itself, to enslave consciousness of Earth. And saw Earth fight back. Saw cataclysm. Mudflood wasn't natural disaster, was weapon. Empire didn't retreat because of primitive humans, retreated because Earth turned soil against them. Ground liquefied. Cities sank. Mountains rose up to crush towers. Saw survivors, Agarthans, fleeing into pockets of stability. Saw Empire sealing themselves in bunkers, activating protocol, putting themselves into stasis to wait out wrath of planet. And saw us, humanity, weren't primitives who defeated them, were biological weapons grown in labs of Agarthans, designed to be caretakers, gardeners meant to heal surface. But protocol, memory wipe, damaged us, made us forget purpose, left us frightened, violent, confused, wandering ruins of world we didn't understand. "We aren't enemy," I gasped, tears streaming down face as truth burned through synapses. "We're the cure." Opened eyes. Sphere screaming now, drawing energy from me, from my life force, to power transmission. "Do it," I yelled at Sky. "Make them remember." Sphere detonated. Wasn't explosion of fire, was explosion of silence. Wave of pure white negation expanded outward from Rough-Tor, moving faster than light. Passed through Vance, passed through custodians, passed through moors, towns, cities. Saw Vance fall, didn't die, just stopped. Dropped cane, fell to knees, clutching head, mouth open in silent scream of absolute recognition. Custodians froze. Shrieked, sound of digital pain, then dissolved. Turned into gray dust, blowing away on wind. Projection couldn't hold. Truth disrupted their waveform. Wave hit searchlights in Plymouth. They flickered and died. Air raid sirens cut out. For a moment, there was peace. Lay on rock, body broken, mind emptying out. Could feel signal arcing around globe. Knew what was happening. In Berlin, dictator freezing mid-speech, remembering time when he was gardener in Crystal City. In Poland, soldiers dropping rifles, looking at hands, realizing men across field were brothers from spawning vats. Hum of Empire died. Battery was disconnected. Looked up at stars. Looked different now. Clearer. Closer. "Thomas," I whispered. "We did it." But as light faded, as sphere turned into dull gray rock in my hands, felt new vibration. Wasn't mechanical hum of Empire. Was deep, geological groan. Earth was moving. Remembered warning in vision. Empire had retreated because Earth fought back. If we stopped war, stopped blood sacrifice, Empire would starve. But Earth was waking up too. Ground beneath me trembled. Not mechanical vibration. Living one. Realized then that mud flood wasn't just history, was cycle. And by stopping Empire, hadn't saved civilization. Had just rung dinner bell for something much, much older. Vision began to gray. Fumbled for recorder in pocket. Heavy brass dictaphone carried uphill. Pressed button. "This is Lieutenant Arthur Penhaligon," I rasped, voice barely whisper. "Signal is sent. War will stop. For a while." But Vance was right about one thing. We are virus. And immune system, God help us, immune system is active. Looked downhill. Vance was gone. His men were gone. Cars were empty. They had remembered. They had fled. But mud around base of hill was moving. Bubbling. Rising. "I'm sorry," I said to microphone. "Tried to save us. But I think I just initiated reset." Mud rose over headlights of cars. Flowed uphill. Tide of liquid earth. Silent and unstoppable. Wasn't water. Was planet reclaiming its surface. Closed eyes. Didn't feel fear anymore. Just profound, heavy tiredness. "If anyone finds this," I said, breath rattling in chest, "if anyone digs this up in 1,000 years, don't look for black wall. Don't look for crystal cities. Just look at dirt. And remember." Mud washed over my legs. Warm. Felt like blanket. Signing off. Recording ends there. Tape found in 1994, encased in block of solidified sedimentary rock during excavation for wind farm foundation on Bodmin Moor. Geologists who found it couldn't explain how dictaphone from 1930s ended up inside rock formation carbon dated to late Pleistocene era. No official records of Lieutenant Arthur Penhaligon in Royal Engineers. 171st Tunneling Company exists in archives, but logs for winter of 1916 are missing. Redacted. Or perhaps, never written. But one anomaly in history books difficult to explain. On September 4th, 1939, 3 days after invasion of Poland, there was global seismic event. Seismographs in London, New York, Tokyo, all registered simultaneous tremor. Wasn't earthquake, was frequency pulse. And for period of exactly 1 hour on that day, there are no combat reports. No shots fired. No bombs dropped. War logs for every major nation show gap. 60-minute ceasefire that was never ordered, never explained, and immediately forgotten. Veterans of that day, when interviewed decades later, would often speak of fugue state. Moment of confusion, where they forgot why holding rifle. Some claimed they saw cities in clouds. Others claimed they remembered life they never lived. But hour passed. Signal faded. Frequency of empire reasserted itself. Or perhaps humanity simply reverted to what it knows best. Guns started firing again. Blood started flowing. And battery began to charge. We look at world today, at wars, unrest, constant, grinding conflict, and ask ourselves why we can't find peace. Why history seems to repeat itself in loop of destruction. Maybe Arthur was right. Maybe we are fuel. Maybe peace we seek is one thing machine underneath us cannot allow. Or maybe, just maybe, mud is rising again. If you walk through moors of Cornwall, or ridges of Sami, or forests of Ardennes, you might feel it. Vibration in your boots. Hum in your teeth. Sense that ground you're standing on isn't floor, but ceiling. Listen to silence. Because if digging stops, that means they are listening to you.